When the Welsh Government was set up, we had a duty to promote sustainable development. So we decided that sending 93% of our waste to landfill wasn't terribly sustainable. So we built our first waste strategy around sustainable development. So to maximise the best environmental, economic and social outcomes. But some of the waste experts thought we were mad to try and increase recycling. They said, oh, it can't be done, it's too difficult, too expensive, not worth doing. And we had to get the evidence together to say, well, actually, it will result in good carbon savings. We had to get good case studies. So we went abroad to look at other countries, and particularly in Europe, to see how well they did it. So we did a lot of learning, by talking to other people. So we've set a goal for zero waste by 2050 that is essentially 100% recycling. We've got an intermediate target of 70% recycling for 2025. And at the moment, our local authorities are currently recycling at 65%. So we've gone from 7% 22 years ago now to 65%. We're put at third in the world by a consultancy who's done some analysis. So we're behind Germany and Taiwan, I think it is, who are second. So obviously, we're quite proud of that. But we also saw it as an opportunity, an economic opportunity, to be honest, because recycling creates far more jobs than landfilling or incineration. And we wanted to instill more of a sort of pride and sense of community action in terms of doing more on recycling, and also things like reuse and prevention. That we did a lot of modelling around carbon emissions using life cycle assessment analysis, and we showed that recycling would deliver far better carbon reduction savings than certainly landfill and to some extent incineration. For 2025 is 70%, and any local authority that doesn't meet the target faces the threat of a fine. So in theory, local authorities could face fines of hundreds of thousands of pounds, or even up to millions of pounds if they really meet the target. And that was one of the arguments to persuade them to do more recycling. We showed them the financial modelling and how much money they could save or avoid, by recycling. And our policy at the time was for them to meet those targets through recycling. So that's recycling, garden waste, food waste, paper, card, to get biodegradable waste out of landfill and reduce methane emissions from landfill. Because of course, if those items are landfilled, they generate methane, and methane is something like 38 to 50 times the global warming potential of carbon dioxide. So methane is very bad as a greenhouse gas. So that policy worked well, but at the same time, our local authorities quite rightly said it's going to cost us, more money to recycle. So we provided an additional grant to local authorities to help them recycle. We work very closely with the local authorities. They have various groups set up to discuss technical issues and share best practice amongst local authorities themselves and with our support. So that was a real sort of national local collaboration. For local authorities to get the public to get on board, they need to communicate the change, but they also have other ways of nudging people. So all of our local authorities used to collect what we call black bag, general rubbish every week, but all of them have now moved to only collecting it every 2 weeks at best. Some only collect it once every 3 weeks, or once every 4 weeks. And that, of course, inspires people to put their recyclate and food waste out that is collected every week. A number of our authorities have provided smaller wheel bins, so you've got a limited space, or they restrict the number of black bags that people are allowed to put out. So where I live, you can only put 3 black bags out every 2 weeks. So basically, they've restricted the ability for people just to throw anything away into the residual waste stream. So it nudges or really forces people to separate things out for recycling. Some of our authorities have gone down the enforcement route that if people are not putting out recyclate, they get a warning notice. I think they get 2 or 3 warning notices, and then if they still do it, they could get a fixed penalty notice. But only some of our authorities do that. The research that RAP did on, for us and the other 3 nations looks at whether food waste should be collected with garden waste or separately. And the conclusion in the end was that it'd be better for food waste to be collected separately and then sent to anaerobic digestion. Doesn't make a lot of sense because you don't get much methane from garden waste, certainly not from woody waste. So we've managed to persuade all of our local authorities now to collect food waste separately. And as I said, 99% of our households across Wales have a separate weekly food waste collection service that is probably the best collection service in the world, we suspect. I don't think many other countries have such a universal collection system. In Wales, compared to some other countries, is that we've promoted separate collection. So people have to sort their recyclables into different boxes or bags. Whereas some other countries have gone for commingling, where you put all the recyclate into one bag or wheel bin. But we want people to separate out because it yields a higher quality recyclate. It's more likely to be used in Wales or in the UK by manufacturers. On trains and buses, persuading people to recycle. And people got leaflets, through the door. All sorts of campaigns were used. Last year, we ran the Be Mighty behaviour change campaign. And this was changing the emphasis from you've got to do this because you end up with nasty landfill if you don't do it, is what we did in the 2000s. But now it's more about the positive messaging of, hey, we're doing really well. Most people are recycling. Why aren't you? To identify which sectors of the community weren't recycling as much as they should do, and then targeting the messages at them. We're now trying to target the difficult to recycle items. So things like plastic film are a challenge. So plastic bags, because separating them out can be quite difficult. So we're certainly going to introduce that soon. We have a lot of disposable nappies put into the residual bin. So we're looking at projects to recycle the nappies. That can be a challenge. We're introducing extended producer responsibility for packaging, which will require all packaging to be clearly labelled as either recyclable or non-recyclable. If it's labelled as non-recyclable, the companies putting their products in that will have to pay what we call a higher modulated fee. So there'll be a financial penalty for putting products into packaging that can't be recycled. So working with the manufacturers and retailers is key to all of this as well. I think try not to do everything all at once because you'll get overwhelmed. To do things in a step-by-step process to bring everybody with you. So lots of citizen engagement, listening to people, but also giving them the right information so they can understand the benefits of doing something, but being open about some of the challenges, and the effort that needs to be applied. I wish you all great success. It has been a fantastic journey that we've been on. So I hope you share the same journey and I look forward to you exceeding our recycling rates in the future. So I lay out a challenge there. It's a fantastic thing to do, for good, sound, economic, environmental and social reasons. And you get a great sense of community by doing the right thing. So good luck, everyone.